Everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today is such an exciting day because we're going to be painting this gorgeous ship in a bottle. Do you love that? It's all piratey, it's all sunset, it's like perfect for the end of summer. It's actually more beginner friendly than you think. If you check the description below, you can see the materials that we're going to be using and a link to our website where you can find some extra helpful materials like traceables and things to make this part of your journey a lot easier. On the mic, my hands all covered in paint. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hi, guys.
He's going to be tracking me with one of our many robotic zoomed-in cameras. So you can see the action of the paint mixing. You can see how the brushes are loaded. You can see how this entire painting is constructed. And that way you can make it for yourself at home. I know I'm a little hyper today about it, but this was a very popular painting in our Facebook group. And there's a lot of funny stuff that happened around it. It's actually version number 2 or 3. I'm not entirely sure. But it's like kind of fun when it takes us a minute to get here and we have a really fun conversation back and forth, my community and myself, to get an exact perfect lesson that you guys are excited to do. All right, I'm ready to jump on in. You, John?
Okay. Yep.
Let's get around and get in the steps. So we have an empty palette, but don't worry about that because we're going to start over here on our surface. I will pull my example aside.
Yeah.
And you're going to see a bunch of words on it. These are wishes and intentions that we like to put on our canvas. We have a wish for our own Diane, just a general love bomb for her and her family. Nicole, she just had a wonderful wish for all parents before school starts, just for it to be as easy and doable as possible. I certainly get that wish. I do. Sandy, healing for her heart and soul. And, you know, she's just dealing with a lot right now. So just lots of support. And then, of course, joy and healing for our dear Maddie. We just hope that things just become better and better and better, and everything gets all sparkly and wonderful and magical. So that's where we are. Oh, and then also just personally, on a personal note, my personal wish, and I bet it's one that you share, is that we don't hear about another large-scale shooting at all. I'd like to see that become a thing of the past, along with cancer. Those two things just gone. Actually, my list of things that could just be gone is getting longer and longer, but it's definitely right up there of things that could just disappear in my lifetime that I have to explain to my grandkids what it was. Because they don't know. Wouldn't that be nice?
That'd be cool.
That would be so cool. So that's my general wish. This is a 10 by 10 surface, and we're going to start out really simply. We're going to start out with just black and white paint. So I'm going to take my heavy-bodied acrylic here. That's what I choose to paint with, but you could do this in like any kind of paint that you have. This is titanium white. I like titanium white. It's a good color. And I'm also going to put out some Mars black. Dun, 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 dun. Isn't that wonderful? Fun
That is
stuff.
interesting.
So 2 colors of paint to begin with. That always sounds really fun. Now, on the website, I have this, and it's kind of just like a little measurement guide. That way you guys have a quick sheet to look at what I'm talking about when we set this up. Right? But basically what we're saying is that if I were to take a ruler, right? Actually, I'll paint it all in gray first, and then I'm going to take a ruler. But I'm going to use a ruler, and I'm going to match those measurements, and that's going to help us create that painting. But let's get a nice gray going first. So this is a big boy brush. This is a number 30 bright. You could use any nice big boy brush that you have. I'm going to take a little of this black. Notice how I'm using the corner of my brush there, John?
Yeah.
Just getting very little. I want to make sure I don't have too much water on there. And I'm going to bring it into my white paint and make, such a soft light gray. You know, it's not white, but it's a nice soft light gray. And I like to do that carefully, just simply because black can overpower white very easily. You'll notice that I'm just doing big, bold brush strokes back and forth. Look at those. And I'm painting on a stretched canvas today, and it's been about a minute since I have.
I was a little springy.
I do love the spring. I have been missing it, and these are so perfect for a stretched canvas. And I just felt like, I'd like to paint a nice stretched canvas. Now, if you're painting a stretched canvas, and it is what's called a gallery wrap, which just means that the staples are on the back, not on the sides. Though a true gallery wrap generally has thicker stretchers. Those are the wood bars. Don't forget that you can paint these sides to help finish the work if you're not going to frame.
Mm.
See how we can do? To give it a more resolved finish painting.
Gives it that studio finished look.
Gives it that finished look, right? And I won't get too into this, but you guys will get the idea.
Now,
I like to frame my work. That's my preference.
this is sort of touching on the craftsmanship of being an artist.
It does. These little finishing touches can make a big difference in how your work feels on the wall.
Yeah.
You know, artists just kind of pay attention to the little details. You can see we're not being fussy about it. This is all it's going to take for this particular piece to feel finished. I've noticed that there's been a trend of just painting the edges black. I don't know that I really like that. I think, just carrying the painting around is my personal favorite. But we're not saying one is right or one is wrong. It's just preferences.
It's funny. I actually kind of like it when the edges are painted black.
Do you, where the painting is one color and the edges are black?
Yeah.
Preference.
To me, it just sort of says that was thought about. It was considered.
Yeah. I like it when it's considered like the painting is wrapped around.
Yeah. And that's cool too. I guess
that's also cool.
You could even tone that color around the edge.
You probably could. So there's just a lot of ways to do it. But the idea is that if you're not going to frame, the edges of your surface show, and you may want to take this time to finish them. And you may have never heard of that before, and you might really like the result. I'm going to rinse this brush out. Always rinse your brush out between uses. I'm going to drag off the extra water, kind of dry it off, and lay it flat to dry. I'm going to dry my surface right now so I can put in the first of my horizon lines, which I'm pretty excited about doing.
Okay.
Boom, 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 dry the canvas.
While she's doing that, I will remind you guys to use low heat when drying your surface because acrylic doesn't respond well with heat, and it causes it to color shift, which is to lighten as it dries. And again, it doesn't necessarily do that in your pro paints as much as it does in your student paints, and that just has to do with the chemical compositions in it, things like that. But if you're using student paints at home or you're using craft paints, don't use heat because it'll color shift a lot more than your acrylic tube pro paints. So there you go.
Boom, boom.
Doo-doo.
Doo-doo-doo.
What happened? Our generation was born with sound effects in our operating system.
Yeah.
And previous generation was definitely not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are we unusual in that?
I think, my parents were like, why do you make sound effects everywhere you go?
Because, sound effects need to be made.
All
right.
don't know.
So from the top of my surface, this would be the top of my canvas. I'm going to make a 5.5 inch mark here, and that is going to be the height of my horizon.
And why are you using a T-square?
The T-square allows me to make very straight, consistent lines. They're not pricey. I have a link to one in my description. You can absolutely use what you have. You could use a ruler. It's just about trying to get a straight line. It's just a little bit below the halfway point, and that's when I'm going to want to have that horizon going. Now, for this part of it, I'm going to make just slightly darker of a gray.
Okay.
So I'll dip in a little bit, get some more black on the brush this time, and you can see this is a darker gray.
Oh, yeah.
This will be a horizon line that is reflected through the bottle and through the whole painting. There we go.
That's pretty easy to do. You can use, any kind of whitish brush.
Any kind of whitish brush. I like this brush. I'm not sorry that I have it at all, but it's not magic. It's just a nice, consistent, well-designed big brush.
Mm.
And you can use the nice, consistent, well-designed big brush you have, and I will be okay with it. Just, doing those. And you can also do the bottom. In this particular case, it's going to be placed back down, which is kind of damaging, but it's become a thing because, my mom always does this thing to me where she paints me canvases, but then she doesn't do the bottom. She's like, you can finish that, right?
This I'm okay. So the first time this happened, I didn't like really even know what to think. It was funny, but it was she was like, "Yeah, you can just finish that part."
I'm like, but I wanted yours. That gives us just a nice kind of horizon.
Yeah.
If you want it to be a little more muted, you can make this a little bit lighter with some white so that there's still a difference. Let me get out of your way, babe.
That crisp line is really important.
The crisp line is what's a big deal.
Hey.
I'm just adding a little bit of white just so that these are there. See how it's kind of blending now?
Oh, yeah.
It's coming down. It's nice. I'm going to come back the other way. Now, if you are left-handed, right, where you see me orient, going from left to right, you may want to orient from right to left.
Okay, see, I can flip it for him.
Yeah.
Can we do
Well,
that?
I think directionality at this point is just...
It doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah, it's just about preference. So as a right-hand person, I'm more likely to pull my line from the left to the right. As a left-hand person, you may find to prevent dragging or moving paint that you want to do this, which is also nice and perfectly fine. Okay. So once that's in like that, I'm going to dry it again.
Okay.
Rinsing this out quite vigorously.
I was so excited. Somebody asked about color shift.
Are you? Oh my goodness. It's been your You know how like the first lady has like a mission?
Yeah.
John's his platform is color shift.
The first Sherpa's platform is color shift.
Happy Saturday, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, you go do your... Okay, so color shift. Color shift is when paint tends to, especially acrylic paint, tends to lighten as it dries. Now, there are things that can increase this. By heat is one of those things that does it. Actually, sunlight can affect it a lot. But a lot of your color shift is due to using heat when trying to cause it to dry faster. And that will affect student paints or craft paints or budget paints more than pro paints. And the reason for that is the chemical composition of the fluid that actually your pigments are suspended in. So as those chemicals dry and cure, they can oxidize and they can cause the color to shift faster. So you don't want that to happen. So don't use heat, yo. I think that's my message.
I'm coming using my measurement tool. I'm going to come to the middle of the canvas and make a mark. This is a 10 by 10. Then the halfway point would be 5 inches. And I'll go ahead and make a center line on that mark coming down. And that will help me keep my bottle center. Make sure that that was on a good square. Sometimes if you don't lay your T-square incorrectly, it will mess with you. You don't want it to. You're like, don't mess with me, little T-square. There we go. That's what you're trying to do, is just make sure that you've got a nice vertical line that you're working. Now, a 1/2 inch from the top, right? That's going to be the top of my cork. I can even almost erase that. Got my little cork here. And my cork, the whole thing is going to be about 5 inches. So if I come to the 2.5 inch mark, I can find it on my ruler. Goodness gracious, they didn't do the big long line. Can you believe they didn't do the big long line? So, and then out here, so 2.5 right there. There we go. That's going to be about the width of the cork. It ends up being 5 inches total. So you want 2.5 this way and 2.5 this way. Isn't that nice and easy?
Yeah.
It might, you're like, I don't know how easy you feel that is, but now I do like to kind of create a sort of squeezed feeling to my cork. Can you see that there where I'm tapering these lines in a bit?
Squeeze it in there.
If you guys aren't into drawing, it is okay to use the traceable.
And what's a traceable?
A traceable is a pattern that you can transfer on, and there's a whole instructional video on every page on how to use it now. You can just
Ooh.
find that video right there and download it and print it out and use it, and it's never cheating. It's just a way for you to manage the drawing if you don't really want to draw. I'm going to come right here across. That's that nice little lip. The lips of jars are going to always go out a little bit, and I like to build them as a bead, which you can see me doing, sort of rounding that out. Now, on the inside,
What are you looking at?
we're going to come...
You're looking at the reference image,
I am looking at the reference
I'll put
image.
it up here
Actually, I'm looking at a very important image, and you guys can print this out that tells me all my measurements, so that the measurements I described to you are the measurements of the original. This is an alternative to gridding.
I gotcha.
It's an alternative to gridding. You know? Now, from my lip, I could sit there and say, all right, well, 1.5 inches is about when my jar would start to bow out, and I've just freehanded it fairly well on my own. Go figure. Now, on this side, at about the 1/2 inch mark, and on this side, maybe at about like the 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch mark, that is going to be where the bottle bows out. So I'm going to just carry those down like that. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Now, 8 inches from the top is about where the bottom of the, let me make sure that that's where I measured it from. Or is it, okay, it's 9 from the very top of the canvas, 8 from the top of your cork. I'm going to do it from the top of my canvas. There you go, 9. Here's the bottom of the jar. So now you know where you're kind of ending your jar, don't you? I can make a nice little semicircle smile here. And look at that, round this jar in. So this is just another way, this is that next more, interesting way of freehanding something in, is using the relationships of objects to each other to paint them in. Now here at the shoulder, you're going to want to give yourself a little guideline that kind of goes down. This is where the glass is going to darken a bit, and we're going to create some of those effects. And I like to draw my little cork guy in. He's a little rounded, little corkness. See his little corkness there? Whoop. And that's the basis of that. We know we've got a little sun here, but we won't be painting that in. Right now, that's all we need to start getting this in. So the first part we're going to paint in is the cork. And the cork is a lot of fun. The cork is burnt sienna, Mars black, and yellow ochre. And a little bit of white. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Just simple colors. These are in most paint sets. I'm going to put my little glasses to the side because I won't need them until I get to the boat. A tip to know on the boat, I'm going to be using a fluid paint. You could use a craft paint, or you could be using a fine art heavily pigmented paint. Either is fine. You just want something that will make fine detailed lines off of your brush. I'm going to get a bright brush, just something here. I'm going to grab this scruffly one. This is a number 8 Cambridge. If you did Acrylic April with me, you'll have one of those. And our first color that I'm going to come in, I'm going to take a little bit of my ochre and my burnt sienna, mixing them together. And I'm going to start to paint in the beginning of my cork. Cork is awesome. It's a very sustainable resource.
We're pro cork today.
We're pro cork today. We are not supported by the Pro Cork Council. This is not a secretly sponsored video.
You have to watch
because
out.
we're not as clever as the other YouTubers, because they're all getting paid for that stuff.
It's the anti-corkers you've got to watch out for.
Yeah.
They're all about
real
lead.
problem.
Man, it's no good.
You can kind of see that wonderful shape has taken place right there. It's nice and rounded at the top. It curves in and has a sweet little belly. Really take in that shape. Now I can come in, I haven't rinsed my brush at all, and I'm going to take my black and my burnt sienna. I'm going to come in from the side here. This is the left-hand side. And this might be one of those areas where, sometimes John might reverse the video for artists that are left-handed so they could see it from the other side.
I do that occasionally if you would like me to.
Yes.
Right, can you do it right now?
Yeah, just every once in a while, just give them that
you gotta
look.
tell me, because see, sometimes they people are like, hey, what's going
or,
on?
you know what, maybe they can be like, hey, John, maybe it's something they can request. We need to see it from the other direction.
That's it. That's the mirror. So if you were left-handed, this is how it would look.
Yeah.
In mirrored ArtSherpa land.
Mirrored ArtSherpa land. I'm going to get my burnt sienna, and now I'm going to come to this middle sort of space with just that burnt sienna.
We'll bring it back to normal here.
Yep. You guys kind of get a sense of that. And you can see I'm painting fairly thick. Look how thick it is. And it's very loose, isn't it?
It is.
And I'm letting the brush stroke show. Now, if you're painting craft paint, you're not going to get that scratchy effect. It's a very self-leveling paint. This is something that heavy-bodied paint does. And craft paint and fluid paint does not, in general, do at all in any way. I'm going to get a little of my black and put it into my yellow. And you can see that sort of grays or greens it out. Come over this other layer, which is now starting to build up and look quite corkish.
Mm.
And you can see it's also kind of shaded. Like if I grab a little more of a dark color and come underneath, like I'm shading that up. Helps inform your eye to the shape. And just because you're new at painting doesn't mean that you can't do things like shading. You can. You absolutely can. I'm going to add a lot more yellow, and this time I'm going to grab a little white. That's going to lighten the value of the paint. And I'll come right here and just very softly brush on that highlight right here on the right-hand side, almost a la prima right over my wet paint.
Now,
we're getting it?
I do. So we just had a couple of really good questions that came up.
I love answering questions.
Well, we were super lucky. I'm going to zoom in here actually real quick because you've got some beautiful texture that just, unless you know what you're looking for,
you wouldn't see.
You wouldn't see. That is some, so why don't you explain how you got that beautiful texture?
So there's a couple things. There's the heavy-bodied paint, which really shows all of my brush strokes. It gives me control over everything that's happening. And then also there's this brush. It's a number 8 Cambridge. It's a mix of bristles and synthetic filaments. Bristle brushes tend to get soggy with acrylic paint, but this particular brush and brushes that are a mix resist that sog, and so therefore are super nice to use. I think I've really kind of shaded me some cork there.
Yeah. So we generally get a lot of questions that come up about different things, like the difference between carbon black and zinc, or different blacks and
right
different
here.
Whites. And
like I'm going to add some gold right here.
Yeah.
Do you like that? It's like a little gold highlight.
Oh my gosh.
It's just really pretty. Look.
Come back into
I'm
it.
going like this. I'm going zip, 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 just touching the canvas and little dashing marks. See those dashing marks?
Yep.
It's going to look really good. All right. Rinsing this brush out and letting it have a rest, sipping my coffee before going on to the sunset.
Now, we have a lot of resources on our website, and I just dropped a link to both how the difference between whites and the difference between blacks, which are both videos you've done in the past on the Big Art Quest.
Yeah. We went over all the whites and we went over all the blacks, and certainly introduced to YouTube the chromatic black idea now, through Salvador Dali. There's a secret cookie in the black video. So there's a secret painting that we did in there. Sometimes the water video, sometimes my paintings have a secret cookie lesson that you don't think is there, but is there.
That was a good one too.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys want any of that resources, I highly suggest jump out to the website, click on the video link, and then type in your keyword. Chances are we've done a video on it.
900 of them. We painted a lot of things. I don't have a lot of motorbikes.
You know what? You don't. You need to put a motor scooter.
Hey, babe, can you read the description and tell me if I had cadmium orange in there or not?
Yeah. This is my favorite part of the show, where Simon's like, okay, what color are you looking for?
Cadmium orange. I know I have cadmium red medium, but I just
red, yellow. I don't see orange.
Good, okay. I didn't see it in there either, but I wanted to make sure.
Yellow.
So I have cadmium yellow, cadmium red, and this particular paint line calls it Quinacridone crimson, but what you would have is also alizarin crimson. So Quinacridone crimson or alizarin crimson. darker red color that you need. If you have none of that, you could add just a little black to your red to try to get a darker value, but I highly recommend at least these 3 kinds. It's a recommendation that I have.
Yeah. Now, that technique you just did up there, that really requires a wet on wet process, correct?
You could probably get this dry brushed over, but what's nice about the wet on wet is that some of the paint underneath picks up and blends into what's on top, and it creates a softening of that line, which is, quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
While I'm letting all of this have a dry, I'm going to take advantage of that. And I've got this fabulous sunset going on. So I'm going to start out, and I'm going to mix my Cad Red with my crimson color here. And very carefully, see how carefully? I'm going to come across the horizon, making as straight of a line as I can. Trying to get out of John's way so he can show it.
You're doing great.
I have come here and I'm going to start doing the sky. Now, the sky has a bit of a curve to it. Can you guys see that?
I can.
So I'm going to lean into that and begin to paint this curving of the sky. This is a number 6 bright by Ruby Satin. You just use what bright. You could use a flat, you could use a round. The brush you want to use is the one that makes you feel like you have control over your brush stroke in the painting. Now, you want to avoid that edge right there drying on you. So I've just dipped in water, and I'm going to come get just a little bit of I'm going to come and just make sure. We don't want this to dry out on us too fast because it'll make it hard to blend. Even though we're going to do a couple layers, it's just better you don't. So now I'm going to get a lot of my yellow and red together. You can see I'm kind of getting some orange. And I'm going to come right here. And it's going to be a little more dipped here. So you can see I'm pulling that down. Starting to get the orange into that.
Yeah.
Pull that in. You see I'm pulling that lightly in. Coming from the edge. And where you want to blend or soften it, you can always come on the edge of your bristles and lightly dust it in, as long as the paint is wet. I love the orange here. I do. Don't you?
I do.
So as I come up, I will continue to add more yellow into that mixture.
That's how you get
I will focus it a little bit more this way, simply because my sun's going to be here. By the way, this would be true on any sunset you did like this on any canvas. We just happen to be putting our sunset in a bottle.
I like it in the bottle.
So you can see that we're curving those strokes and changing those values, going up more into this little yellow space. Now, as I come up here, I'm going to go ahead and get a little of my white into this mix. And you can see, and you can kind of see it on the bottle, it got lightened up here. That was just a bit of fun.
I like how it really looks like you captured it inside the bottle.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like summer got kidnapped. So you can see what we're doing there is just making sure that when we come back with our dark values, that our bright values are absolutely underneath. I'm going to make a little more orange, which is my yellow and Cad Red. I'm down here, and you can see I'm just playing with that. The stroke is curved like a smile, and my pressure is light. It's not bending in hard. It's on the toe of the brush. That's what we're doing. Now, right now, we're going to need a second coat of the crimson.
Yeah.
Crimson is a very transparent color. So whenever you're going to use it in a project, plan to do a couple coats. Just plan on it. You can bring this up the jar as you see fit. The thing that you want to do is just make sure that you keep that horizon line level inside the jar.
Now, I noticed you're not being too careful to overly blend those. You're letting, little streakinesses of,
Yeah.
and
Look,
that's
we're
kind
going to
of
come on the edge here and just make some little sunset effects on the edge of our brush. Can you see how we did that?
painterly.
Yeah. Letting it be sort of expressive and fun, and still we're going to have our sun down there, and that's going to look really, really good. I like it. Now we're going to come in here and start to get the rest of our ocean, which is going to start out orange.
Yeah.
Orange. More orange than that. Sometimes you will touch your paint to the canvas and go, oh no, more orange than that. Again, it's super critical that we try to keep this as level as we can. So it's believable that our pirate ship has some place to be.
So it's not tipping in the bottle.
Right. I mean, this could be the Black Pearl. It was in a bottle for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You weren't as into the Pirates of the Caribbean.
No. After everybody got a plot, I
love that everybody had a plot. But then I like the ride. Everybody had a plot in the ride, too.
It's true.
I felt like they stayed very true. So this is kind of like an orange. You can see I'm pulling this across on a very horizontal mark. I'm going to rinse out a bit. And I'm going to come forward. I'll let the yellow get into my orange that I have here, but I'm going to be a lot more yellow. And I'm going to start to blend those two values in. It's okay for me that I've got some of the gray coming through. If you're doing student paint and your yellow is super weak, so like say you have basics or loft or something like that, and the yellow is super weak,
yeah,
what you could do is paint this lower half white.
Oh, yeah.
Or add white to the color, either one. But that's about the opacity of your paint.
That makes sense.
I have a pro paint, so I'm getting away with everything. That's why I like painting with professional paints, is because they let me get away with everything. So just coming back into a little orange now. Just back into a little orange as I come down here. Streaking back and forth. Pulling in a little orange. And you can kind of see that while I'm keeping it horizontal, I'm still respecting the jar. And we have some interesting kind of jar stuff coming up, you know, from the outside edges. So when we bring in the dark glass value. You see, we're just got that. So it's orange here at the horizon. We're blending a little more yellow through here. And then out here on the outer edges, we might get a little more orange. So I'm going to take some of that orange coming from the edge of the jar and just blend it in. See how I'm taking on the edge on this side of my brush on the toe, kind of streaking in. These lines are very uneven. Some are long, some are short. It's like short, longer, short, longer.
That's that very painterliness I was talking about. I like
Yeah. Do again a little bit on the other side. A little bit. I'm going to come here to the horizon a bit. Am I in your way, babe?
No.
Okay. Sometimes I tend to lean into John's video space.
You're doing fine today.
All right. So you can see we're kind of just barely dusting it. You don't want to have like a ladder or streaks or any of that. You are trying to make uneven lines. Now, I'm going to come in and get my crimson, like you might do. And I'll come in a little bit at this horizon. And then I'm going to add some here. See, I'm coming streaking in. That's fun. Maybe a little bit there. These are little kind of water streaks. You're just talking a little bit about the darkening of the water. And I'll take this red kind of down, even though I know I'm coming over it with the glass, just to make sure it peeks through well.
That's what really makes the edges of those glass
look
like it's capturing the bottle.
This is what we're doing to make sure that when we come in, that it's going to have that little effect. You can kind of see that I'm just darkening that. Now, I can get into my little red and black together, if you see. And we're going to go ahead on this side, coming along this. I'm rinsed out, and I'm going to just brush this over a little bit. See how I'm doing?
Yeah.
And I'm darkening that. Softening it by brushing over it back and forth with my brush. Notice that I'm keeping all these lines very horizontal. That's important. I'm going to get a little bit of water on here. A little more black. I pull the red into it just so it's a little bit blended. But I just want to make sure that I've got this darkening. And we may have to hit it a second time, in my experience, to really fully work it out. So can you see how I'm pulling it in?
Mm-hmm.
But then this is going to be the thickest right here, but I've got to taper it back into the glass pretty quickly. And I want to make sure that those edges are not even. If they're too even, if they're like stepladders, they'll show, and you don't want them to show. And I'm going to go like this. Look. You see that work? Brush, brush. That's a very streaky effect. That's the beginning of laying in some glass. Over here, pulling that in a little bit on the edge of the sunset. The red and the black. Just glazing that in. Now, that's going to have a little moment there. I'm going to rinse out my brush super, super well. And I'm going to take a little of my yellow and a smidge of my white. Can you guys see that together?
Yeah.
A little bit of my yellow, a smidge of my white. This is where my sun is going to be. So I'm going to make a corridor of light. See my corridor?
Yeah.
If I need to blend back in, I can always come and get my orange and just make sure that this distant light is a little bit thinner. You want it thinner here and becoming whiter as it comes out. There you go, just touching that. It's a little bit of orange that I'm using to do it. You can get some just yellow if you want and work that in there.
Which brush is that you're using?
I'm still on that number 6 ruby satin.
Okay.
I probably won't get out of it for a minute. All right, nicely done. Maybe drop a little bit of this up here for fun, right?
Fun.
For fun. Doing good, doing good.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to come in and sort of erase my chalk around my cork. And I'm going to add some phthalo blue. And it's phthalo blue in the description too, isn't it?
I believe so. Yes. I see.
Not Prussian?
Well, you also have Prussian down below.
Do I have Prussian down there?
Prussian blue. And Naphthol. I mean, that's a mouthful of blue.
All right. Uh-oh. Something. Oh, are those the color? You're talking about the color exchanges. Okay.
Oh, is that what that is down there?
Thank goodness. All right. Yeah. I also try to list color exchanges where I can.
Oh, I see how it is. You're right. You're right. Down. It's.
Oh,
yeah.
That really panicked me. I'm like, those are not the right colors. Okay.
No,
I've got phthalo blue and a little bit of black together.
You have phthalo green blue shade.
Yeah. Do I?
Yeah. Phthalo green blue shade.
That's one I could probably take out.
Okay.
Take out the phthalo green blue shade.
Okay.
I don't see myself getting into it.
Yeah. All right.
Sometimes the editing tool when I'm doing a materials list is a little tough on my dyslexia. Just stuff gets in there. So I'm always asking John. So I am making about 1/4 of an inch slightly curved line at the top. Can you guys see that?
Oh, yeah.
Little black, little blue. I'm going to come in on the inside, come down straight. Right? Going to come down straight along the yellow. And you definitely want that to be a noticeable edge or lip. And then I'm going to come along this outside edge with the black. And I'm really essentially going to be outlining the whole thing. I just added a little bit of water. Come down here. Sorry, I went to the bottom on you, John.
That's right.
That's because sometimes it's easier to make an upward stroke.
No, and that's okay because I actually had it set so because I thought you might be painting around the outside edge. So
now I am pulling this darkening up into the bottle about a 1/2 inch. That is the base of the glass where the glass is thicker, where the bottle would sit. I'm going to come here. Again, just following that line.
Yeah.
On the outside edge, it's all quite dark. Not too bad, right?
Yeah.
A little more blue, a little black. Now here, I'm going to come across the bottle. It's a bit of a curve. I'm going to bring this in. Bring that in. And you can see almost going over it, it's almost green, isn't it? And let's take in a little bit of glass on the sides here. Taking in a little bit of glass on the sides here. See how I pulled it in a bit?
Yeah.
We're talking about shadows. Because glass is painted by reflection and shadow. You're not really painting the parts you don't see. You're painting all the parts you can see, which is the shadow and reflection. I'm going to very lightly brush this. I want this to be sort of a broken, not smooth line. See how I'm making that a not smooth line?
Mm-hmm.
Letting the brush make little streaks for me. Coming up here, similar thing. Thickening this here. It's fun to do. And you can always pull a little bit of it out from the bottle. Just letting it be transparent and going over everything. This is one of those times less expensive paint might even be your friend. Because it'll be more transparent. It'll be more of a glaze. I'm going to add a little water. Bringing this through here. Letting that be darker right there. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So already we're starting to see the shape of our bottle. So I can take my little white line off here. Now to do the shadow underneath, I'm going to start out with, the black is going to be in my blue, but it's going to be fairly light. I come up the jar a bit, out and circle in. And that's going to make an ellipse. Now I want this to mostly be blue, guys. You don't want it to be
Mostly blue.
Mostly. They come out at night. Mostly. Same side. Ellipse in too. See how we use the brush to do the ellipse?
Yes.
This is the shadow under the jar. You're going to want to get some black and come underneath here. And right where the jar is meeting, kind of darken that shadow. So the shadow kind of almost has like two values. The very dark for underneath and then the slightly bluer outer edge. You guys seen that?
I do.
What was funny?
I don't know. I was just like, perhaps if we were French, we could title this painting The Shadow Under the Jar.
We can do that anyways. All right, so I'm taking some pure black and I'm going to come across the top here and darken some of this. I still allow some of the blue to show through. I'll bring in some of my dark values along the glass there.
I don't know. I think the French get away with calling stuff cooler names.
Pull some shadow in through the shoulder. Do you see how I'm very lightly curving and dusting it? I break my brush stroke.
I do. Even though I didn't break your concentration.
No, you can't, because I know everybody needs to do this. I'm doing kind of broken brush strokes here.
That's really cool. You're building the outside. You're building the under part that you're going to come highlight in a minute.
Yeah, it looks like glass once you highlight it.
Yeah, this is that critical deep shadows that you must have in order for the next layers to work.
Exactly. If you don't have this, you don't have nothing, yo. Which is cool. And bring that little dark shadow out here. And so now we're starting to get this going around the glass, aren't we?
You are.
I dry brush sometimes a little bit of that in. Because again, we're trying to show that space. Now, the next thing is a blue-gray that's super obvious. So I take a little of my black and my blue together, and then I get some white into it. You're going to see this makes a very noticeable blue-gray. I'm going to come here, pull down a little highlight into the glass. Then I'll make a long streak, and then I'm pulling little highlights. You see that in there?
Yeah.
Subtle, but super important. Black, blue, and a little bit of white. Make one streak right there. I'm going to pull to the right about 1/4 of an inch. Come down. Here, I'm going to start on the edge, curve around. See that? Dash, dash. Glass. On the bottom here. In the center. Make a streak across, maybe one up there. See how we've got it? Two little broken marks on this outside. But I'm going to bring that little mark on that side.
These are your under blue marks, which may not be immediately as evident, but they're very important.
Bring a couple in here at the shoulder. Right? One a little bit down here. And I might have one right there at that shoulder. Now, that's got to dry for a second. So I'm going to rinse out my brush quite well.
Yeah. Swish, 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 swish.
Quite well.
You super swish it, and you double.
I'm gonna double swish it. I'm going to rinse it out twice. Now I'm going to grab just a number 4 round. This is just a nice round brush with a nice point.
What you doing with that round?
And I'm going to get a little bit of white. And I'm going to come over here. I need to leave room for my ship. So I'm going to come right here. And make a little white sun.
Mm.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. And you got very impasto-y again.
Yeah, you can. You can be very impasto-y. You can be very smooth. It's fine. Now I'm going to make, see these little wiggly marks? These are the highlight reflections coming down. I'm just using the round brush. It's fine. The point is we just need some highlights.
Those are great.
And the trick with these is keep them level, and you want them to be a little uneven. If, like right there, I don't really love where that's going, I can always come with a bit of yellow quite easily.
Oh.
And erase it. So you're never stuck. Don't feel stuck.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not.
And sometimes it makes an unexpected improvement.
Sometimes it makes an unexpected improvement.
Where'd you go?
I'm back into my number 6 bright. I'm going to come right here.
Okay.
I've got the corner of my brush.
Now that we all agree on where here is.
And I'm going to make a couple dabs. Did you see those 2 dabs?
I did. Now what are you doing? All right.
I'm going to come right here. Little reflection there. Another one right there. Another one there. See, I made it kind of a weird shape.
I did. I'm just trying to catch both.
Now, One right there.
Mhm.
There. So I pull down and then I went across. Let's give a nice light one right there. There's another one. I think we could have one here. There's one. Then one maybe. You need to improve the lining brush. You can always dip in water to improve the flow of the paint if you're having some trouble. A little bit there. And I'm going to just dry brush something coming up the side there. Bit of one there. And maybe the hair of one. And then get back and see how that's looking. And as long as that's looking like highly reflected glass, which I feel like it is.
Yeah. That looks really good.
Now, sometimes I like to take a little bit of my yellow and a smidge of white and kind of come right here and add just a bit of that. And while everything is having its little moment, I'm going to definitely come here and make sure that the bottom of my jar where the glass is dark is very, very fully dark. You'll want that. It's a weird thing, but trust me, you'll want it. Now, that's all looking pretty good. So guess what we get to do now? The ship.
Ooh.
Which we're back to what paint I said to use this paint.
Oh, it's that fluidy.
Yeah, it's the fluidy paint. Couple tricks with the ship. I'm going to grab my smallest bright and I'm going to show you my trick. I'm going to be doing this ship with a couple of brushes. I'm going to be doing it with this small detailed Monogram Liner because it gives me very fine lines. I'm going to be using this tiny bright and I'm going to be using my vision enhancer so I can see what I'm doing.
Enhance the vision.
I can't even get these on. Guys, how am I doing? Do we have any questions before I get into the ship? Because we're in the ship, we're in the ship.
There were a lot, but I've been sort of like, I know that this was one of those ones you wanted to get through, so we've been doing our best to just catch a lot of them in here. I just want to make sure everybody, it was such a popular painting, I just want to make sure you guys have what you need to do the painting. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of these, we've had some questions, the difference between titanium, zinc, the different kinds of whites, which we've been able to catch here and refer you guys to the different
Definitely go check out the Big Art Quest video on white, because that really goes into that and explains it, makes it simple.
And while, of course, I would love to chat all about the soap, because there's lots of soap questions, I do think that this is probably...
awesome and available for sale.
Yes. Well, but for now...
But we don't have free shipping yet.
No. But I think for now, I'll catch you. Yeah, I'll catch you on stuff.
All right. So to do the ship, I want to use my bright. I'm going to load it up with my fluid paint. You could thin your black paint with water till you get a nice consistency as well. I have this kind of coming, close to my sun. It's over a little bit and down from the top of the canvas about, I want to leave like almost 1/4 of an inch salvage edge.
Salvage edge. You sound like you're quilting again.
It's information that one needs. So I'm going to make this little strip. It's a square strip. On top of that little strip, coming to the back, and it kind of really almost is at the horizon line, is another little lift up.
That's a little stair step kind of thing.
Yeah, this is how you get that weird thing going on the boats, and then you use angles to finish it out.
I think
and
that's
then
a ship.
Halfway, I half the brush. So see, I put the brush halfway at that line?
Yeah.
And then I come back and bring that out. And that's how I get that little weird, big pirate ship booty. Right? And then this can come down at an angle.
Very important.
The angle part is important.
Yeah. Gotta have your pirate booty.
Gotta have your pirate booty. Now, the front of the ship needs to be at an angle as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put an angle in. And then it has a very long little pointed wood thing that you guys probably know what it's called, but I don't. Sails are attached to it, though. I'm going to come here and just finish that out. So now we have that really all-important line. There are 3 little masks that come off. There's one right here at the back. It is shorter. It is the shorter one. Shortest one, I think, actually. You want it to be as vertical as you can make it. Then there is another one that starts kind of like right here and comes up tall. It's the tallest one.
So, yeah.
And then you can always like kind of join those up. And then there's one sort of out the front. It's not as short overall as this one, but they actually end up being about the same height.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to take that one up to the same height as its friend. All right. Fun stuff.
Uh-huh. I like this. This ship's kind of cool.
It's fun to paint the ship, I think.
This is it's sort of privateer in the front and pirate in the back.
I don't know. I referenced a ship that's in dock somewhere. I was like, it's okay. So this sail right here, they're kind of shorter on this side. They come back. I'm going to use this line, and I may switch to my little detail, and it curves in. Okay, see that little curve? There's another little one here. And they curve in. And I am going to switch to my smaller detail brush so it doesn't aggravate me.
That's so you can get more detail.
Well, and so I have a little more control over the space. I can always fill it in with another brush, but sometimes getting those first little sails in is its own little journey. I want those 3 little sails. I'll paint those in with my little detail brush. You have this on the Traceable, so you're not in so much
Free-handedness.
Yeah, I'll freehand it. It's good for you guys to see me freehand it to see how I might construct something like this, but it's not necessary for you to freehand it. Now this guy, same thing, not all the way to the top because we got to have a little flag, is a foreshortened little sail. So it's shorter on this side. The edges come up and sort of open out. Can you see how that does? And then that curves in. There you go. I'm actually pull it down like that. We're just curving those in. We're kind of billowing those out. Curve, curve, curve in. It could be a little bit bigger. Another one down here. Curve, 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 bill in. Maybe quite close to this one. This one is got the little curve here. It's close to its little friends. A little bit bigger. And then down below it is this last little large square. Again, all these sails probably have names. Super important stuff. There's a skinny little triangle sail that comes up the front. So I don't attach it. And there's like kind of like a little line that would fit to it. If at any point you get extra line that you don't want, what I do is I get very clean water, and before the paint dries, I just come in and I sort of erase it.
Mm.
Because that will work quite well. And then there's a skinny little triangular sail in the front here. So this part of it is really about having a good detail brush. Now I like to carry these up a little bit. And the other thing that's kind of nice to fly off of them is some little flags. There you go. Little flags. I'm going to paint in the rest using my brush that's a little bit bigger, so I'm not like fussing in every little ounce of it. That's for me though. You're welcome to just fuss in every little bit. A little process by which it might, be attached. Define that a little more. Come down. Fun stuff. For the reflection under the ship, I'm going to take my black and my red. And we're going to come underneath at first, and we're going to just go back and forth. So we're going to start to make a shadow. I'm going to bring a couple little shadows out like that. That's sort of talking about the sails and things that are there. You can see I'm wiggling it back and forth. A little more red into the mixture. And I'll say that this little mainstay might come up like that. So I'm reflecting the bits of the ship and kind of the general shape of the ship, but letting the water move. You guys see how I'm doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And then just wiggling it forward. And you can always come and add a bit of a darker value to where the ship is in the water. So you're just playing with that sense of shape and scale and all of that. And then you grab your little detail brush. You find a little spot that makes you happy. And make your maker's mark.
Mm-hmm.
Your signature. There we go. And that is how you paint a ship in a bottle. I'm going to turn around, babe.
Oh, are you? All right.
Yeah, you want to let them have a look at it and I'll turn around?
Oh, yeah. They get that there. But you're over there.
But I'm over here.
You're over there.
So that's how we did that. You're welcome to use the Traceable. The Traceable is in no way cheating. You are welcome to grid it. You are welcome to follow along with the way that I rendered that in.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a lot of fun to do. It was a lot of fun to design. I really hope you love your version of it. I cannot wait to see this in group today on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram. You can always find me searching TheArtSherpa. It's pretty searchable now, isn't it, babe?
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to track me down. I love to see your paintings. John loves to see your paintings. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And make sure that you keep a little magic in your heart. I want to see you at Anisa really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.